Congratulations on your accomplishment. Congratulations on becoming United States citizens. I know this wasn't an easy task. I want you to look around. I want you to take a moment to look at the magnitude of what has happened here today. Congratulate your neighbor. When are you going to be around so many new citizens ever again in your life? When will you ever be in a room with members of 110 different countries? We practically have our own United Nations General Assembly in this room. So thank yourselves, thank your neighbor, and congratulate each and every single one of you. And good morning. As Judge Bennett said, I'm Ravi Sandill. I'm judge of the 127th District Court here in Harris County. Before I get into my remarks, I want to recognize my wife, Kelly Sandill, and my son, Asher Sandill. I figured there was no better civics lesson in life for a fourth grader than to come to a naturalization ceremony. And Asher also has something in common with all of you. He's a naturalized citizen as well. I am very honored to be here today with you. When my good friend Judge Bennett asked me if I was available to speak today, I don't know if he knew how excited I was, but I jumped at the opportunity. I'm sure that today is an exciting and memorable day for every single one of you. I want you to know that it's also exciting and memorable for me. I want to give you a brief description of two people's lives at the beginning of my remarks here today. One of the individuals is a woman. She attended grade school, worked odd jobs, mostly in the service industry, married, had a child, and then had another child. She moved around the country in support of her children and her husband. Today, this woman is retired. She lives comfortably. She collects Social Security, has 2 grandchildren, and has an active social life centered around her religion. The second person is a man. He attended school and went to college and earned a bachelor's degree. While attending college, he worked as an orderly and at an iron mill. He married and had 2 sons. He eventually joined the U.S. military and traveled extensively. During his work life, he earned a master's degree. He served in the military for 28 years. He eventually retired, but before so, he had some medical issues that were born from his work. This man, as I said, is retired. He collects his military retirement, Social Security, and has 2 grandchildren. Both of these stories are American stories. To many, they exemplify the American dream. A fairly simple middle-class life with children and a comfortable retirement. These are the stories of my parents, Bridge and Shova Sandill, both of whom are naturalized citizens. The reason that today is so meaningful to me is that almost 22 years ago, I attended a ceremony just like this in San Antonio, Texas. My parents and I were naturalized in 1985. I still have a vivid memory of that naturalization process. I recall being interviewed by the naturalization officer, and as an 8-year-old, I told the officer that I was married and that I was born on July 4th, 1776. I was unbelievably nervous that day, kind of like I am today. And I know that every single one of you in this room that went through that process did a much better job than I did. I want to go into a little bit more detail about my parents' immigrant story. My parents immigrated from India to Canada separately. They met and married in Toronto, where I was born. Soon thereafter, they moved to Philadelphia. During our time in Philadelphia, my brother Shiva was born. In 1982, my father decided to join the United States Army. He too, like a few of you here today, joined the U.S. military before even having citizenship. I don't know if we've got those folks here today. Are the 2 people that are in military service here today? If they are, if you'll stand for me. I want to thank you. Y'all can be seated. On behalf of all of us, I want to thank you for your service, your sacrifice, and your belief in our country and our Constitution. So as soon as my father joined the Army, we moved to Fort Hood, Texas. My father did a 3-year tour there and then was promoted to captain, and we moved. During this move phase, my father transitioned from the Army to the Air Force, and then we were in Wichita Falls, Texas. I completed both elementary and middle school during this time, and from there we were transferred to England. I went to high school at Lakenheath, England, where my father was promoted all the way up to lieutenant colonel. After returning to the United States, my father had a position in the executive offices of the president under President Clinton at the Office of National Drug Control Policy. He did that for a few years. He then continued his service with the Air Force until 2010. During that time, he moved from D.C. to St. Louis to California and finally retired in San Antonio. He served in Iraq, and as I said before, he is getting his retirement today. My mother at the same time, who was the rock of our family, took care of me and my brother and our home. She supported our family's home life. She eventually, at times, would work retail or in the food service industry. My parents' American experience, which is still ongoing, has resulted in both sons as lawyers, a comfortable retirement, and 2 beautiful grandkids. But I do want to say that the American experience for immigrants does not come without its own trials and tribulations. While growing up, my parents struggled to balance their new country's customs and cultures with ensuring that my brother and I had a sense of our Indian heritage and customs. Without realizing it, my family had become part of the great American salad. I use the term salad because we all bring our distinctive cultures, languages, and perspectives. A salad allows us to combine all the beautiful ingredients that we love to eat, but they all get to keep their own unique structure. They get to be themselves. Each culture in America coexists with all others and makes this American salad truly an American-only dish. This mixing and not melting is very American. In a nation whose freedoms allow us to pray to the God of our choice, or choose not to pray at all. A nation that allows us to express ourselves in almost limitless ways, either through our speech, our writings, or our vote. We are able to keep our separateness in this very American way. I was blessed to be raised by a family that exposed me to so many aspects of American life. Being in a military family, I lived in very patriotic communities that bled red, white, and blue. I was given opportunities to play sports, join after-school activities, and the one that I appreciated the most, not having to go to temple. I studied and played with people of many different backgrounds, from Filipino Americans to Mexican Americans to Chinese Americans to Nigerian Americans, just to name a few. But then I went home, and I was reminded every day that I was Indo-American. This epitomizes the immigrant American experience, the ability to interact, to play, to work with folks from all different backgrounds, but then when you go home, you are what you are. Today, I serve as judge in the most diverse urban county in the United States. I have the fortune of interacting with a vast variety of people that make our salad so colorful and interesting. In order for you to make this country truly your own, I ask you all to add your flavor to this salad. You can do that by participating in the functions and institutions that make our country great and special. Please make sure that you stop by the League of Women Voters to register to vote. Democracy is a birthright of America. You should participate, and we need your participation. Remember that your vote is your voice. Also, please participate in jury service, and I'm sure Judge Bennett agrees with this. Jury service at its true core is an American experience. A right to a trial by jury is guaranteed in our Constitution, and juries are the voices of our communities. As I look at this audience of good-looking American citizens, I am filled with pride and joy. Pride that the country I grew up in, the country for which my father was willing to give his life, and the country that I continue to serve today, chooses to embrace openness and inclusivity. I'm joyful today because I know that each and every one of you will infuse our community with your experiences and your culture. And before I leave, I want to say one last thing. America wants you here. America needs you here. Regardless of what you may hear in the news or from a few, this country is better because you are a part of it, and this country is greater today than it was yesterday because all of you are American citizens. I'm very happy for all of you and proud of all of you. Be well.